I was not thinking about television, but once
Mhm.
I had the opportunity and I saw the impact that it had, there were people that I never met that said, thank you for your representation and thank you for, you do great work and thank you for just exposing that kind of exposure and that awareness.
Yeah.
And so that is one reason why television is important to me.
Welcome to the Designer's Oasis podcast. I'm your host, Kate Bendewald. If you're tired of one-size-fits-all advice to running your interior design business, you're in the right place. Join me each week as we dive into topics to help you run a thriving interior design business without the hustle. We'll talk about the business of design, but also mindset and mental health, because I know when you thrive, so will your life and business. It wasn't that long ago that I stepped away from my corporate interior design job to build my own design business so that I could realize my own creative dreams, have more time with the people I love, and serve my clients at the highest level while making more money than I ever could have working for someone else. It wasn't always easy, and I made my share of mistakes along the way. Fast forward to today, and I've learned a thing or two. Since then, I've built multiple six-figure interior design businesses on authentic word-of-mouth referrals with many repeat clients. And I want to share it all with you, the ambitious, inspired, and I get it, occasionally overwhelmed interior designer who shares this dream of transforming lives through the art of interior design. You can do this. Thank you for letting me spend part of this day with you. Let's get to it. Today, my guest is Rasheeda Gray of Gray Space Interiors, an award-winning residential and commercial interior design firm based in the Philadelphia area. Rasheeda's firm has been named the best design firm in Montgomery County and House Beautiful's Next Wave design firm. She is a proud woman-owned and minority business enterprise certified firm. Rasheeda's design journey began after a decade-long C-suite career in corporate marketing. Today, we're talking about how the road to pivot from the marketing career to design was a long one, but the one she needed in order to make the leap. We're also going to talk about hiring and how she has grown a well-rounded team that supports her. I also asked Rasheeda about knowing when to say yes to opportunities and when to pass. And finally, I talked to Rasheeda about the progress that we have made in the interior design industry to elevate Black designers. I wanted to find out if she is feeling hopeful about the direction we're headed in terms of giving Black designers the presence they deserve. Please welcome Rasheeda Gray to the podcast. Good afternoon, Rasheeda. Hi, welcome to the Designer's Oasis podcast. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am better now that I'm hanging out with you and getting to chat again. We met at High Point this year. You led our insiders tour because I have been to the Vegas market before, but I had never gone to High Point, and I knew that the insiders tour was going to be so helpful, but I really underestimated what a great experience I would have with you being our leader that day. You were amazing.
Thank you so much. It's always a little nerve-wracking to lead your peers in such a way. And so I'm happy that everyone had a great time. That was my goal. Great time and informative. So yeah, thank you.
It's so funny. I often get very nervous when I'm leading things myself. And the reality is nobody can tell. Nobody could ever know, know that you felt like such a natural and such a pro. And I think taking the time out of your own market to be a leader and to be a guide for designers who have never been to market, I think it's such a gift of your time. I'm gonna just jump right in here with some questions. Why have you chosen to do those insider tours at High Point?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I think, I remember my first time at High Point Market, which at this point was about 8 years ago. And I remember actually having the uh, blessing of having someone hold my hand through High Point Market. So I had a mentor at the time, and her name is Cheryl Luckett. You may have heard of her, maybe not.
Oh, yeah.
So Cheryl, before I got started in the industry, I reached out to her to connect in the mentor-mentee relationship. And so that evolved and we got to meet in person during my first market. And without someone to sort of hold your hand and say, this is what you should consider going to, this is who you should meet. These are the vendors that are really designer friendly that you can start out with. All of those things, because it's massive and there's just so much to do. And if you don't have a pseudo plan, at least you could get lost and sort of waste time. So I wanted to be able to reciprocate that in a major way. And
Hmm.
so that's these insider tours, hotspot tours are a great way for me to reach multiple people and return that same lend of hand that was given to me to someone else. So
Yeah. Oh, well, we all need mentors, and I love that this is truly for you. I think it sounds like an act of service to give back to the design community, and we couldn't be
yeah.
more grateful for it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And it's such a great group too. We had a little text group and we all have been staying connected, and it was really fun to meet all of the others as well. So
Yeah.
just a quick shout out to anybody who has either not gone to High Point or you haven't gone on a tour through High Point. I highly, highly recommend the hotspot tours, and look and see if Rasheeda is doing it again, because she's an excellent, excellent guide. You'll learn a ton, but you're gonna have fun along the way.
Yes, we had a really lucky experience, and that was great.
Yeah, I always feel so spoiled in those. Well, it's true, High Point, and that's honestly why I hadn't gone. I have like major issues with crowds. And I've always heard about, and it's actually not that crowded. It is huge, but it was the scale of it that kept me away for so long. And because I had been to Vegas and I was like, I've got vendors, but it's still
Yeah.
good to go. And it really wasn't nearly as bad as I made it out to be, especially with my fearless leader.
Yeah. Yes, you did it the right way for sure.
God, yeah, I feel so much more equipped to go back on my own in the future, which we'll for
Yep.
sure be doing. Yeah, wonderful. Well, Rasheeda, I'm so excited to have you here and to share you with our audience. So you are the founder and CEO of Gray Space Interiors. You are based in Pennsylvania out of Elkins Park. You do full service residential. Is it just residential or do you dabble with commercial?
I residential. We dabble in small commercial. Yes.
Got it. I understand. It is a bit of a different animal. So depending on the project, sometimes it makes sense to cross over and sometimes not. So,
Yeah.
and you also work hand in hand at times with your husband, who is a general contractor. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yes.
Um, so I want us to take a step back first, and I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey. Prior to launching your interior design firm, you were working in corporate marketing, and I would love for you to give us a little bit more insight into the exact kind of work you were doing there, and when did this aha moment happen for you where you realized, I think I'm supposed to be doing this other thing, which you have clearly crossed over into and are thriving at. But I want to go back to those early days of when you were in corporate marketing. What were you doing, and how did this idea start to generate for you?
Yeah. Well, my journey. I think it could be relatable to a few other folks that are listening. So, I have an undergrad degree in marketing and a master's degree in business, an MBA, and wanted to be a marketer for the largest fashion house in the world. That was my dream in college. And so I graduated. I did not get a job with a fashion house, but I did get a job with insurance companies, and so that was uh, that was a result of me working with insurance companies part-time in high school, like a local insurance agent's
Oh, wow.
office. So I had that like admin experience in the insurance industry. And so when I graduated, that was like the first opportunity that came about. So I've worked for companies like Progressive Insurance, State Farm Insurance for many years, for 6 years, and then Chubb Insurance for 7 years. And I held positions in claims originally, totally not marketing related, and then evolved into marketing, both like on the analytics side and the research side, as well as brand campaigns. And then my last role was in business development and marketing as an assistant vice president for one of the subsidiaries of Chubb Insurance. So I
Wow.
around the block in the marketing and insurance industry. I spent about 15 years total in that world before the light bulb went off and I decided to become an interior designer. So how that happened was, you climb the corporate ladder,
Yeah.
and as you sort of have promotions and all the things that are on your checklist, like a corporation that is local and I can grow locally and um, become promoted and there's opportunity and the finances are there. Those things start to happen. And you start to say, well, it doesn't feel the way I thought it would feel once I got there. It
Mm.
feels like something missing. And so it feels like maybe there isn't purpose connected to work. And so in my early 30s, these thoughts started to happen. And I said, what do you love to do for free? I think I might have heard a podcast or took a course, and that was one of the questions that came out of it. And I was like, I decorate my home over and over and over again. And so I said, well, decorating your own home and running a design firm are two different things. And I ought to be sure that this is something that I want to do. And so I went back to school for a 6-month program at Temple University for interior design, just to make sure, one, that I understood the industry outside of what's on television, and two, to have the knowledge that would help me to succeed if I decided to open a firm. And so I did that. And about 1 month before completing the program, I got my first client. And that person was a friend of a friend. And I said, well, I guess I should start a website and solidify a name and register the business as a legal corporation. And all those things sort of happened within the first month or so of getting my first client. So
Wow.
that was
That's a fast track.
it was very fast. It was like, I'm thinking about it. I love to do it in my own home. And then it was like, okay, here's a potential opportunity. And they were looking for an amateur designer. Like, how great is that? Because that's exactly what I was.
Yeah.
And so fast forward, that was 200. I don't know the exact number now, but over 200 projects ago. And I did both my corporate career and building Gray Space, my design firm, for 3 years. And then I had to make a decision as a mom too, and all the other things that are outside of work. I had to make the jump. And so after saving and planning, I decided to walk away. And so it's been 5 years full time as a designer, 8 years total.
Wow. You did both for 3 years. I just want to highlight that because I know how hard that is. Um, I Designers Oasis and
Yep.
Kate Bendewald Interior Design ran parallel to each other for about a year.
Yeah.
Um, and I loved it,
Yeah.
and I just about died. It was running an interior design firm and doing literally anything else is no joke. And I cannot believe that you did that for 3 years. So, how, I'm like, I have so many questions. How, how were you able to take it that long? Did you have support within the design business side of things? I mean, because your job at the insurance company, you were assistant vice president to, I mean, that's not an, you were not in claims anymore, friend. So
Visible, very
no shame to
visible.
the folks in claims, but
Yeah.
that is a very big job with a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
So how did you manage that? I'm sure imperfectly, but you did it nonetheless. How were you able to carry both of those for that season, for such a long season?
It was challenging. I mean, I literally would work, your 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. And then I would, come home, maybe have dinner, do homework with the kids. And at the time they were younger. My children are 18 and 13 now, but 8 years ago they were 5 and 10. So
Okay.
little, and we had all the activities. So um I would work until the wee hours of the morning, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I would do my 9 to 5 and then my five, no, then my 9 to 1. That's how I worked. And so as you can imagine, that's not really sustainable. I mean, thank goodness my husband, he's an entrepreneur and has been for 13 years. And so he was super supportive during that time.
Mm,
And for me, I'm just not a big risk taker. And so I wanted to make sure that we had savings and that I had a solid book within the design firm, like a proven concept before jumping. And, um, it got to a point where I had to, I was on Flea Market Flip and a few other television opportunities. And I started to have to decline opportunities because I should have been working. It does help that I did have a flexible schedule in my full-time job. So I did work from home a few days a week, which was super helpful.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think what this highlights, hearing you talk about, I mean, first of all, you said to yourself, I want to try this out, but I'm going to get some reassurance and I'm going to see it, what it's all about first before I really dive in. And then the universe was like, yeah, girl, here we go. Here's a client. Here's the next opportunity. And it's like no turning back since. So there's probably some of the biggest validation that folks look for right there.
Exactly. And I will say, I started off small. Like
Yeah.
my first client was 1 bedroom. My second client was like 2 rooms.
Right.
And so I am grateful that I got to do both for 3 years, although I was exhausted, because I had the opportunity to fail and not like totally dismantle the design firm. I still had my corporate salary, and that was like my first investor into my business. Um, and I got a chance to hire. I did have help. So opened my doors in 2016. I had my first hire in 2018, early 2018. What was it? Yeah, 2018. So I thought I have my corporate salary, so I'm going to use any funds earned by the business to put back into the business. And I made my first hire, which was basically a project manager at the time.
Well, yeah. So you were the first investor because that was you doing all of that work, and that is some serious sweat equity.
True.
What I want to point out to our listeners, though, because we've had this conversation many times on this podcast, is, this many of my listeners are in their second, if not third career. And there is always this period of time where there's some crossover in this murky transitional period of moving from whatever it was you're doing into this world. And
Yeah.
I get a lot of questions, especially inside the, either on social media or inside the interior designers business blueprint or program, where people want me to tell them, what do I need to have in place in order to make this leap? And as much as I would love to be able to answer that question, the reality is it comes down to you and what your comfort level is. Because here I'm talking with you, Rasheeda, who, of course, she worked in insurance. Your risk tolerance is fairly low, and I think that there's wisdom to that, and there's security in that, and that's a wise way to go. And I've talked to other designers on here who, you know really have a much higher risk tolerance than others. I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I make a lot of decisions on intuition as well as facts and data. And so it's a blend, a hybrid, but there is no right answer. And I think it's really important that designers hear from you that if they're like you in their risk tolerance is lower or they're risk averse, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But that this is an example of somebody who's willing to hustle on the weekends and at nights and get it to a place where you do feel like, okay, I think I'm ready to do this. Um, so I just appreciate you sharing that side of things.
Yep, absolutely. Of course, I had my spouse and partner to sort of support when needed, but we are both entrepreneurs. And so there is the joy of being an entrepreneur, and there isn't um, guarantees. Honestly, there isn't guarantees with anything. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I almost got forced out. Like I was supposed to be 2 years, and then I was like, no, I'm not ready yet. And then so just a quick note on something you brought up. Of course, there's the finances, and everybody's number is different on what they need to have and etc.
Exactly.
But I also hired a business coach before I did the transition because I wanted to know as much about the industry as possible. I wasn't transitioning to the industry to work for someone else. So there's just like the unknown of never working in a design firm. So they help with that, but they also helped with visibility and mindset, which is very interesting. And it's a big part, especially as a designer who doesn't necessarily know a luxury world or doesn't know of interior design outside of, as an adult, um, uncovering that it's something that I'm passionate about. And so sometimes your money mindset, as an example, could get in the way of how you operate with clients. And so, anyways, I did those things. I found a mentor, I had a business coach, I saved my money, and I had a lot of talks with my family about what I thought I was going to go undergo. So,
Right. So it sounds to me that you want to underscore, and I think it's really important to do this, underscore that it's not like you were just working both jobs and just hustling. You were also taking the time to educate yourself on the industry, to get right with your mindset. You were investing in your business by hiring a mentor. You were also looking at the dollars and cents of it and having really important conversations with your family. And those were the things that you needed in that time to get you prepared to be on this on your own. I think it's also important that you point out that like nothing's guaranteed. So it's not like you could do all of these things, but if you jump ship from your job and then you go and you are not supporting your clients the way that they would expect, and
yeah.
like that could all crumble if you're if you so it's important that it's all of these things together over time.
There's one big lesson in that transition that I
Okay,
want to mention.
please.
A lot of people, I think we don't talk often enough about um, working for someone else versus working for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and what that in terms of time management and understanding what activities you have to do versus what you want to do. And so I had to adjust to um, the fact that there wasn't someone who would say, here is your priority project for the week, or this is what our company's goals are, and this is how you're supposed to support them. It was less of that and more of now me becoming the person that says, okay, what's a revenue generating activity? Like, and I am, I don't know, maybe I'm a true creative or in that way. It's very easy to get distracted by all the shiny things, right, that are in our industry.
Yeah.
And so time management was a big deal. I was like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. I can make my own schedule. No, uh, I'm going to work less. I'm going to work less than I did when I had two jobs. And honestly, it's about the same because I'm building my baby from scratch. And so I'm giving it my all. Um, So yeah, that was a big adjustment. And I read a book called The E-Myth, which is a super popular book, I think.
Yeah.
So I love that book because it helped me to understand that I need to be more of the CEO, the leader, as opposed to the technician that's doing the work
Yeah.
and the mid-level manager that's managing the work. So
Sure.
um, when I'm hiring and thinking about what's necessary for the company, I always go back to my role as CEO and then
Yeah.
how to support that with what I do with the business. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a process to switch too because we can get so ingrained in these habits of what we think we need to be doing and having our fingers in all the things.
Yeah.
And sometimes I did this earlier today. I caught myself going down a rabbit hole and I was like, what am I doing? I don't need to do this. I have people that work for me that do this, that can do it better and faster. Also, there's a speaking of great books, I'm looking over my shoulder. Hold on.
Yeah.
Um, Oh my gosh. Rework is a really good book that I'm looking at, but it's Mike Michalowicz's book on time management, and I'm totally spacing on the name of it, but I'll find it and I'll link it in the show notes. Unless you know, you can tell me. But he talks about the queen bee role, and you have
Oh,
to
yeah.
identify the what. Why
It's
am
probably not Audible. I'm looking at my Audible. So
yeah, do it. I'm gonna have to find it too. Um,
yeah.
because we have to be able to identify what those specific queen bee roles are. And then everyone else in the hive is there to support those roles. And to me, that was a tough switch early on because, well, it can be hard to think, little old me, I'm the boss. Who made me boss? And then one day you look around and you're like, no, actually, you are the one that created and built this whole thing. And you do have the ability to say yay or nay to whatever. So I think that's an important lesson too, especially for early designers to go ahead and put your shoulders back and step into that role as the CEO
Yeah, for sure.
by by protecting your time. Well, this is actually a nice segue into one of my questions for you.
Yeah.
Uh, I know that you are one busy lady. You have so many things going on besides just your, I couldn't even list them all, but besides your design business, uh, you're a mom. You have some collabs on the horizon. I understand you've done lots of media and TV appearances in the past. So, and you've got two young kids at home. Well, they're not that young anymore, but they're still your babies, right?
Absolutely.
When you have a schedule like you have, you understand clearly the importance that you can't say yes to all the things. So, what are your filters for you? How do you run that through your filter and decide what to say yes to and what to say no to?
Good question. By default, this is vulnerable, but can be a people pleasing person. So I can be a people pleaser. And so I do have to have a filter or else I will burn myself out. And I first say to myself, will I enjoy the experience? Will I enjoy whatever it is? Um, let's just say a podcast. I met Kate in person and we had great chemistry. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk to her. Um, if I am going, I just want to make one of the things about corporate is you have less control over that, like what you say yes to. And as a business owner, I was like, this is why I'm a business owner. I have the freedom to decide. And so I am creating my business and what I want for my life. So that's the first part. Second part is it worth the time, like
Mm-hmm.
financially or long-term strategy? Is it worth the time?
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm thinking about a brand partnership, is it a brand that would be relatable to my audience, that could be helpful to my audience? Is it a brand that I can grow with? Same thing with television. So I think those are my first two lenses, enjoyment and just kind of worth my time and effort.
Right.
And then intuition. That's it. Intuition.
That's a big one too. Yeah. So it's like, first of all, it's got to be fun, something that's going to light you up and fill you up, especially creatively. And is it going to bring value to you and to your audience, both in the short term and the long term? I think those are really great filters to use for decision making.
Think is fun. Like not every project is promised to be fun
Mm-hmm.
for a design project, but is it the second thing? Like, is it going to support my long-term or
Yeah.
financial goals? So
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of go through that checklist.
Hey there, designer. Have you checked out the Designer's Oasis shop lately? If not, you are really missing out. Not only did the shop get a glow up, making it super easy to find exactly what you're looking for, but we've also added some amazing new digital products with courses coming soon. Hold on to your hat, friend. You have to check out the brand spanking new Project Budget Calculator. With this tool, so much of the hard work is already done for you. All you have to do is plug in the project details and it will tally up the project budget for you. Go through the relevant categories such as furnishings, lighting, kitchen and bath. It even includes popular specialty designs such as built-ins, wallpaper install, and fireplace design. Pick which products you'll need and the quantity, and then choose the good, better, or best pricing options. The pricing is already there for you by default, but with one simple click, you can always adjust if necessary. It's flexible, it's fast, it's easy, and it is the last budget tool you'll ever use in your interior design business. Oh, what's that? Can you create different budgets for different rooms? Oh, heck yeah, girl. I even designed it to add it all up onto one master sheet so you can easily present that to your clients if you'd like. Head over to the shop to check out all our new products and get 10% off your first order when you use the code SHOP10 today. That's designersoasis.com/shop and use the code SHOP10 for 10% off your first purchase. I was just having this conversation with someone the other day about taking on a specific project, and it's you know what, it was Dan Mazzarini I was having this conversation with, and it's like, when you get these projects that come in the door, not every project that comes through the door is going to check all the boxes. There are going to be
Yep.
projects that come through that are, ooh, this is a really tight timeline. Normally, I wouldn't want that, but
Yeah.
this is a client connection that can open up a whole new world for me. So there's a lot of potential there. Or, gosh, this project doesn't have the budget that I would really hope to have, but man, is it going to be fun. And so if it checks most of the boxes, then you can make a decision off of that. So I
Yeah.
think it's really important to really give thought to the things that you say yes and no to, and your filters are, I think, good ones for us to all listen to.
Oh, thank you.
So I want to go back to you working with your husband. First of all, what's his name?
Jake. His name is Jake.
Jake and Rasheeda. How cute. And I love this. And your companies are completely separate. It's not a design build company. Is that right?
Yes, it is right now. We have
Okay.
the idea of design build,
Yeah.
but longer conversation.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure there's a lot of thought that goes into something like that. So, do you bring him in on every project or just some of them, or does it depend? How do you guys work that out?
So our design firm right now, I would say it's probably 60% renovation and then 40% furnishing only or new builds projects.
Got it.
Um, so with the renovation projects, we do give we do recommend him to our clients, his
Yeah.
team. And of course, our work together and our portfolio together supports that.
Mhm.
I did have a client, the first one this year, but there may be a client from time to time that either has a contractor that they've worked with for years and they
Yeah.
trust and they
Sure.
know. Um, and so I have worked with projects that did not opt to use their general contracting business, but for the most part, most of our projects together are most of my renovation projects are projects that we do together. So
So how do you guys separate the work and the business, or do you? Because she's shaking her head no. How do you strike that balance between having meaningful conversations as partners in life, but then also in business?
It's hard. There isn't like a black and white answer to it. I mean, we
Sure.
both love what we do. And so, when you love something, you want to talk about it. And just if we didn't work together, generally speaking, a husband and wife would say, like, how's your day? How's your day? This is what happened. So we do allow some of it.
Yeah.
There are times when we're both allowed to say, hey, let's stop talking about work or let's stop talking about the kids.
Yeah.
So there is a balance. We do have weekly meetings where that is the opportunity outside of the office to talk about anything work related because we have a team. And so there may be times where we need to have like higher level discussions like about the design build and what
Yeah.
happens there and all of that.
Yeah.
So we do have weekly meetings outside of the office to help support that. And we try to make it fun with like a glass of wine and that kind of thing. But yeah, that it's a fine, delicate balance. But
Sure.
uh, we've been working together now for 5 years officially, so we kind of have a rhythm going. The other trick is I try not to talk to him about projects that much. My team is his direct point of contact. So either a junior designer or our operations specialist that does ordering and administrative work. That is who his team goes to first before he comes to me. So
I love that.
I
You're like, I don't know, go talk to my assistant.
yes, I am a different woman at work, and I am just kind of like, you know, that. And I don't want to always bring that energy to communicating with him, whether it's about work or not. So
I think that's actually incredibly smart to do it so that you're not, making coffee and just being like, oh yeah, did you get that thing done I asked you to do? You've got that.
sometimes that does happen from time to time.
I'm sure, but imagine if you didn't have that
Right.
structured time or you didn't have those team members to support you, how much more of that would happen. So I am certain that those conversations do happen from time to time. Speaking of a team, I want to ask you about growing a team. This is something you know a lot about because you hired before you even had left your full-time job. And I understand that that first hire is she still with you today?
No, she's not.
Okay.
I had my first hire in 2018, and she stayed with us until 2022. So 4 years.
Wow. She stayed with you a very long time, though.
And there was so much change in those 4 years. So she held on for the ride.
So tell
Um,
me about who you have working for you now, who's supporting you, and how does that work in your firm?
yeah, so we have an employee who's operations specialist. And so her role is to sort of be office manager, but also procurement manager. And then, all the administrative tasks like email, management, client communication. tracking orders, receiving warehouse liaison, you name
Mm-hmm.
it. All things admin she does. I said,
If there's one person I have in my business at all times, it's that person.
yep.
Smart.
I always tell clients she's the glue that keeps this all together. So
Good.
so that's Megan. She's been with us for 2 years now. And then we have two junior designers. So one is virtual and then one is here locally. The one that is virtual is like kind of part-time. They're both on a what do we call those? Contract.
Great.
So employees. And they take projects on themselves. They assist me in projects. And the person that's local, she does project management work too. So she goes on site to projects, and that's who my husband Jake talks to when there's a question.
Great. I love that. It sounds like a really well-rounded team to support
Yeah,
you.
I always have to remind myself because just like you mentioned earlier, it's easy for me to say, I'll quickly do this. And then I'm like, no, no, no. Your role is marketing, like making it rain, like bringing in the business,
Mm-hmm.
then our business development and then your role is also principal designer, so lead creative in the firm. So
Yeah.
anything that's outside of that, I have to remind myself that you can delegate, and that is even 8 years later, it's still a challenge.
Right. Yeah. It's an ongoing learning experience for sure. But you get
Yes,
better at it, and you clearly are. Otherwise you wouldn't be where you are today.
thank you.
So I want to turn the conversation a little bit as we're talking about working with your husband, growing this firm. You're the rainmaker, the chief rainmaker, which is a lot of pressure, too. I very much understand that. That sort of never goes away unless you get to a point where you're actually hiring a marketing manager. Um, but for me and my audience, one of the things I really love to talk about is defining success on your terms.
Yeah,
Success is a loaded word, and I think it means a lot of different things to different people. And a lot of times, when we think about success, and I'm using air quotes here, one of our first sort of knee jerk reactions is that is um, you know how much money can you make, right? That's your only metric for success is your revenue or your profit or whatever.
yeah,
But here we like to talk about a lot of different metrics for success. Whether that's having a certain amount of time off to spend with your family or to be available for them or getting dressed or whatever. So for Rasheeda Gray, I want to know, what are some of the things that you have defined either formally or just in your head as these are the things that will help me feel like I'm doing a good job and I'm where I'm supposed to be. So some of those success metrics for you. Can you share just one or two if you've got
yeah.
them? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here.
I have two that are very much top of mind, and I have a third that I'm brewing, but I can't figure out the words and saying it. But
All right.
first two, freedom. They're both around the
Mm,
word freedom. So
mm,
for me, that is freedom of time,
yeah.
um, and freedom of finances, money, I guess. Just the ability to create the life that I want for myself and my family. Of course, there's nothing perfect to that, but
Sure.
there isn't a perfect way to do it. But I just think being able to say, yesterday was our daughter's move up ceremony from eighth grade to high school, and I was sitting around with my mom and my mother-in-law and our children and my husband. I was like, I'm so grateful that I have a job where I can easily take off when necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, I just think freedom is more important than any amount of money.
Yeah.
But money to live. So,
Right.
freedom and finances is important too. The other thing that I'm trying to put like a word or say, I can't come up with words, but it is knowing that the work that I do impacts our clients' lives in
Mm-hmm.
a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like this is missionary, like missionary work for me, that this
Yeah.
is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
And the work that we do as designers really impacts the way that someone lives and their life as a whole. So, um, knowing and hearing and seeing when the project is revealed that impact with our clients,
Yeah.
it fills me back up every single time. Because being an entrepreneur sucks sometimes. Being able to impact the lives of others in
Mhm.
a way that I love, like it's like I love to do this and it helps someone.
Yeah.
Can't be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hear you saying, first of all, you get at a core level, like it's that fire in your belly kind of way. You understand the impact of design and how it can improve people's lives. And knowing that that is your tool, that is your craft, that is your magic, and you're able to bring that to the table and help people have a more fulfilling life at home. And I think clients, I don't know if you find this to be true or not, but I have found clients underestimate the impact that doing these changes will have on their lives. And in the end, they are they're really moved by what the work has been able to do for them. Just moving about your home and feeling excited or calm or safe or secure or inspired or whatever, I you get that, and I hear you in your voice saying, I want to do that for more people, and that brings
Yeah.
me joy.
Yep.
I love
I
it.
uh I think the awareness of that has increased since the pandemic for sure with clients. Like, yeah, they now realize how important your home is. So
Yeah, it is.
glad to be a small part of that.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful. Kind of on that topic, I want to talk to you about your work in this industry as a Black woman. You and I both know that this industry has had a diversity problem for many, many years. We've seen decades of media showcasing a lot of white designers with white clients. House Beautiful had an article a number of years ago. I remember it pointed out the irony that a lot of them have showcased design elements and patterns taken directly from Black culture. So the problem with that has been that it leaves a lot of all Black designers it's harder work to get the same recognition as their white counterparts. I personally feel hopeful because in the last 5 to 10 years, I mean, first of all, we see organizations like the Black Interior Designers Network that is doing incredible work to elevate the Black designers that this community really needs. I think about some of the hottest voices in design are Corey Damon Jenkins, Sheila Bridges, the Harlem Tall girl, Bridget Romanek. So my question to you, I mean, you and I both know there's still so much work to be done, but just thinking about our industry, when you look at where we've come just in the last couple of years in terms of elevating Black voices, Black designers, are you hopeful about where we're going in terms of giving Black designers the presence that they truly deserve?
Yeah, I would say that's a very loaded question. I am hopeful. I have seen a great deal of progress over the last few years. So I would agree with you in that aspect. I think, as a Black designer and as a Black person and as a Black woman,
Mm.
I all feel this weight of I have to work twice as hard for the
Yeah.
same result. And so that has not shifted. Still
Mm.
feels like it's there. But there has been a ton of progress, especially in 2020 when we all got to see when we were in our homes firsthand because of technology, the brutality that exists in our world because of race. And so I think that there was some progress heightened at that time and maybe 21 and 22, but it seems to have dwindled a bit. And so there were brands that had um furniture collections curated by Black designers. And that was amazing, but I haven't seen much of that since. So
Mhm.
things like that, I think I would prefer that we are consistent as an industry. But on the other side of that, we have things like the Diversity Alliance at High Point Market that is fairly new and is showing.
Mm.
And so I think there is progress, but I agree that there is just still so much more work to do on
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
level of our industry and even on an industry-wide like television awareness level.
Mhm.
And that's television is so important to me.
Yeah.
So I have pursued television and been given opportunities over the last 8 years or so. And it started with a DM in my inbox on Instagram about flea market flip. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. And I said yes. And I'm glad I did. I was not thinking about television, but once
Mhm.
I had the opportunity and I saw the impact that it had, there
Yeah.
were people that I never met that said, thank you for your representation and thank you for you do great work and thank you for just exposing that kind of exposure and that awareness.
Yeah.
And so that is one reason why television is important to me because I I've always been a creative and I went to school for marketing because I thought my parents are sending me to college, first in my family to go to a 4-year college. So I need to make sure that I have a degree that's going to make some money, so that it's worth the investment and time that my family poured into me. And
Mhm.
so, what is creative and what's going to make money? Okay, marketing, sure, that works. Like I just put a test and said I'll
Yeah.
be in marketing. What I didn't know is that interior design was a career, that it was a business,
Yeah.
that I didn't see myself in
Mhm.
interior design space. And so my hope is that myself and other Black designers who are on a television stage or any other large branding opportunity are able to be an inspiration to
Mhm.
children, even on the local level. I find myself wanting to be a part of career days or
Yeah.
any design education opportunity
Yeah.
to be sort of voice for the Black community in the design
Yeah.
space. So lots of work to do,
Yeah.
but I'm hopeful and
Mm.
uh, I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough for sharing that perspective with us, and with me. And I think it's what I'm hearing is yes, that it's hopeful we're headed in the right direction, still work to do. Um, Consistency would be better and not just this cultural response to what's happening in the headlines,
Yeah.
but more of the obvious first choice, right? Because there's so much talent in the Black design community and deserves more than anybody any to be able to showcase their work. I'm like you. I feel like I got really lucky learning that interior design was a career at the time that I learned about it. Because the second I learned that this was a career, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm done. I know what I'm doing with my life. And I had never
Yeah.
been so certain of anything ever before that. And so I do have a fire in my belly to go and talk. In fact, I'm working on a little side project, but nothing's come to fruition yet. But I want to get in front of middle school and high school kids to share with them about this career because I think first of all it's incredibly creative, but there's so much math, science and technology that we utilize every single day, and I really want to instill in them the importance of, stay focused on those aspects of your career even if you identify as a creative person, because they're going to that knowledge is only going to support you. So I'm trying to work out some sort of a class for teens in this area because I think it's such a cool career. I'm so excited. I love
Awesome.
what we do. So I appreciate, you're right though, but young Black men and women need that representation to show this is not just a white person's career.
Yeah.
There are very successful Black designers out there, and here are just a couple of names. So I'm so grateful that you're a part of that representation.
Thank you.
It's not easy to have these conversations, Rasheeda. I will be honest, as a privileged white woman. So I appreciate you, just being honest, right? And helping
Yeah,
us
and I
all learn.
you're being willing to have the conversation. It's easy to not. It's hard to. So
Yeah. 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 That's the truth. Well, as we wrap up here, I want to leave our audience with this last question. If there's a certain type of project that you want to put it out
yeah,
there, kind of like you did a few years ago, and the universe was like, "Oh, that's what you want. Boop, here you go." Um, something that you want to sort of call into your world. Can you just give us a little peek into the future for Rasheeda Gray?
I think vision is important, and it's sort of how my very first project. I mean, I did a vision board and was like, I think I want to be a designer, and then here it is. So I have a vision board now. I've done it for the last like 15 years, but
Yeah.
what am I working on? I'm excited about. I'm excited that our firm is at a place where we're getting the opportunity to work on whole home projects. And so we have quite a few on the books right now, and the clients are trusting and are allowing us to do fun stuff. So I'm excited about that. I am excited. I just got off like a show house. I don't know what you want to call it, like carousel. So I just wrapped up House Beautiful Whole Home last fall, and I'm very proud of the work we were able to do with that. It was a historic home in Chicago, and it was gorgeous, and we got to work with a lot of great brands. I am going to be renovating my own kitchen in a big way
Ah!
um, this year. So stay tuned for that. I found that because my husband, I was going to say our husband, because my husband is on board his company, we're doing much more in terms of renovation. And I specifically am loving kitchens and baths right now. So we have some exciting kitchens coming. But outside of that, I'm doing my own and working with some brands to do it. So happy about that. And there just may be some television happening in the near future. So I would say probably around this time next year, I may have a big announcement about television. So,
Oh
thank
my gosh, no big deal. Just that you have a lot going on, my friend. So much, so many
you.
things to be excited about, so many reasons to be popping out of bed each day. So I'm so grateful to have that update. I will just say, and I'm sure you've already run into this, designing for yourself. We just
Oh my God,
finished our kitchen renovation. I'm like,
I'm
somebody
over.
take the wheel because I'm not like how many times can I change my mind on this one slab of stone or whatever it is? Maybe
It.
we're our worst clients.
Yes. I did designing for myself officially as a designer for one room challenge. Um, and that was probably, I guess it was during 2020 is when I did my first one. And
Okay.
such a great experience as a fairly newer designer at that time. Like
I
I just
bet.
went through, it. But basically just having the opportunity to get that sort of visibility because it was a social campaign.
Right.
And then redo my house at the same time was great. But yeah, the decision making was very hard.
Oh my gosh. Well, it sounds like you might be better at it than I was, but that's exciting. I cannot wait to
Yeah.
keep tabs on what's happening. Um, I want you to share your email and your social media handle so we can all follow you. And we, of course, will be sure to leave all of this in the show notes.
Yep. So on social media, we are Gray Space Interiors. Gray is Gray, the word space, interiors with the S on all platforms. And our website is the same, grayspaceinteriors.com. And if you want to reach me, it's Rasheeda at Gray Space Interiors, which is RASHEEDA.
Wonderful. Well, we will be sure to link to all of that in the show notes. And before we go, I will just say the book whose name I couldn't think of earlier is Clockwork.
Oh, there you go.
Clockwork by Mike Michalowicz. All of his books are fabulous. I'll be sure to link to those in the show notes as well. But I thought of it while we were talking, and I thought I'd bring it back around. Rasheeda, you are a delight and a pleasure, and we are so grateful that you have chosen to say yes to visiting with us today and sharing all that you have. So thank you, and I hope that we stay in touch.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Oh, thank you. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
Hey friend, thank you so much for letting me spend a part of this day with you. I'm so passionate about helping designers like you, and I believe in a rising tide, that when one of us does well, we all do better. So if you share this attitude of abundance with me, I want you to do just one little thing. Please share this episode with someone you think might love it. And if you're feeling extra generous today, go ahead and take just 30 seconds to open your podcast app and leave us a 5-star rating and review. It's free for you to do, and it helps me to be able to keep making more episodes and resources for you. However you choose to help, please know I appreciate you so very much. Thank you, my friend. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you soon.